Okay, third video of the day. This one's about me. So last week, July 16th, I said I was going to launch DNALoaf come hell or high water. And then I had a curveball thrown at me, which I made a video about. And that curveball required immediate attention. I didn't know exactly how intense it was going to be in terms of a follow-up. So I'm not going to get into my personal life and all that kind of stuff. The nuts and bolts are private. But the idea there is that it's quite a dramatic thing that's going on, and it requires a lot of work and a lot of attention to detail and does consume a lot of energy. So unfortunately, I had to put the project on hold. So virtually no posts. I mean, I've got some waiting in the wings. I've been trying to produce stuff to be able to put out there. But sometimes you just got to deal with things. The other part of that is the stress. So I didn't cook anything basically all week. I barely ate out of the fridge. I take away the whole time. And not the good stuff, just the cheap stuff. It was my birthday last week, the day I was supposed to launch DNALoaf. I kind of tried to choose that as a day of like, hey, you know what? It's my 49th tour around the sun successfully. We're going to start the 50th now. And let's celebrate by doing a thing so that this sort of soft launch will carry through. And by the time I hit that half-century mark, hopefully I'll have more of the sort of bugs worked out in the system and kind of get things flowing a little bit more smoothly. In any case, so I missed out on that mark. And then I had my coaching group, my business coaching group this morning. And it was a call. So we're all in the group there and sharing ideas and kind of brainstorming and stuff. And because I had been promoting, sort of in a sense, talking to a few people about it and that it's going to happen and all this kind of stuff, she was like, congratulations, you launched, you know? And I was thinking about the difference between like a soft launch in a restaurant versus like a grand opening, and you're working out the kinks and you're, you know, ironing out details and stuff like that. And, you know, she basically said, it doesn't matter where the napkins go. You're serving people food and you're making the things happen. You can worry about the font on the menus later. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's not quite about the font on the menus, but the idea is there. Like those details are not so significant. So I guess currently, I'm not 100% sure what the offer is at this point in time. I've chosen price points for what it is that I want to offer. But the idea right now is that the service or the exchange is extremely customizable per individual. And I think that's sort of where my work is going to excel, is taking a look at the complexity of a situation and being able to figure out maybe some key points where we can pull some strings and get impact out of that. And find places that people might not have been aware of being able to produce a result, make connections that they might not have recognized previously, and that kind of thing. And I feel like that's one of my strengths. Many years ago, back at Langara, many years ago, back in college, I was seeing an advisor, and they told me, based on, I guess, some paperwork that we had done or what have you, part of the interview anyway, that I'm a connector. And I really didn't know what that meant at the time. Like, good Lord, we're talking almost 20 years ago. And so I thought, oh, you know, I'm made to connect people. And okay, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to produce referrals for people and connect humans to each other and that kind of thing. And that didn't really go as planned, or as I thought maybe it would. And what I realized many years later is that, you know, with practice and other people showing me as well, mentors and that kind of thing, that my ability to connect is more around seeing things and taking sort of the abstract and making it a little bit more concrete so that people can work with it. And I think I do that very well with my students in classes. I try to do that as much as I can. So we're bringing concepts together so that they make a lot more sense when they are brought together, rather than it's just a piece of this and a piece of that and a piece of that, and they're separated and we never bring them together, and so they're a little bit more difficult to understand. So once we bring them together, you know, we have a more comprehensive picture. Like It's the ingredients and then we make a pie out of it kind of thing. Pie. Pie. So the idea there is we're launched and I am the proud owner of another business, basically. So I have a job and 2 businesses. And so it's funny to think about it that way, because I often have a tendency to think about businesses as being completely up and running and being financially productive and viable, and you're not working on anything else. But, you know, with the brain, the way that it works, I've kind of got to have a few projects on the go. So it really does help that they're kind of interlinked with each other, the physical training aspect and then now the coaching aspect, and they kind of move back and forth between each other. And then the teaching aspect, because all of these things kind of blend together. And, you know, if I can make a job out of learning, then I think I'm doing okay. So yeah, that's where we're at on a personal level today. I will, I don't know how I'm going to promote this thing. I think I'm just going to invite people for the time being. People who have been curious, people who have said, oh, this is going to be cool. And no matter what you do, it's probably going to be great. Like, there's my imposter syndrome rearing its ugly head. But I've got to have something to give. And so here it is. We move forward. This is a small part of a bigger picture. This coaching project is going to be about funding my master's degree. So something remote, something highly flexible, and something that is in the realm of. So the idea behind coaching is it's more goal and task oriented in the sense of we're moving towards something a little bit more concrete, whereas I feel like sort of counseling or work in that realm is more about letting the client explore and figure out how it is that they want to go about things. In both of those processes, the parallel is that you're a guide. It's just a matter of how much hands-on you are in the process versus kind of hands-off with the client. But, you know, either way, we're both working with the mind, physical body, and, you know, the whole of the being to make sure that they're healthy and capable. So, yeah, I'm going to leave that there. That's like 25 minutes of video today. So I'm sure that's going to be plenty for the time being. We'll edit these down a bit maybe, or not, whatever. Lighting is starting to get a little creepy. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.